So here you go, Academic Decathlon team. We're going to finish up this intro lesson to economics. We talked about the supply and demand curve. The context we chose for this was a paper producing company, so a company that's making paper products. We talked about what would shift the supply. It's supposed to be a supply, not a suppy. We talked about what would shift demand. The two contexts that we thought about for this were if you were to have a company, or if you had, for example, a forest fire, it shifted demand to the left, which would increase the price and decrease the, oh no, I did that backwards. It shift the demand, this is the demand curve. Shift the demand to the left, which would decrease the price and decrease the quantity. And then if we had a fourth Harry Potter book, that would increase the demand curve. And so that would increase the price and increase the quantity. So now let's talk about what a price floor is. Okay, so I'm going to grab this graph real quick. Let's see, the price floor. So let's say that the company or the government decided that, we want to change what's going on here. We actually want to, no, not producer. We want to take it and we're going to institute a price floor, meaning we're going to make it so that the price that people sell this at doesn't ever go below this point. So right now the economy is operating, let's say that the amount of paper produced is 15 and the price at which people charge, I don't know, what's the original price? 10 cents, so $0.1 per paper. So 10 cents per paper, okay? It's a very small economy for paper. So let's say that the government comes in, and they're like, it's just not working out. We have to make a price floor. So a floor is exactly what you would think it is. It's the lowest part. It's kind of, you can't go through it. So they say the price floor is going to be set at, let's say it's set at right here at 0.15. So 15 cents. They say it can't go below 15 cents. Well, let's see what happens. If you want to pause this and make some conjectures about what you think would happen if the government set a price floor, meaning the price for paper can't drop below 15 cents, you can go ahead and do that. If not, you can go ahead and listen. So if they said that there's going to be 15 cents, and they're not going to let it drop any below that, we're going to end up with an interesting situation here. So what happens is the consumer is going to want to pay, or is going to want to buy. There's only going to be, let's just make up a number for that one. Let's say that this is about, it looks like about 8. So the consumer only wants to buy 8 papers at 15 cents. Like, it's just getting too expensive. I'm only going to buy that many. However, the producers over here, they want to produce, let's say that is about, 23. Just making up those numbers. So while the producers are producing 23, so the consumers only want to buy 8, and the producers are willing to produce 23 at 15 cents. What we have here is a surplus. And how much is the surplus? Well, it's the difference between 23 to 8. So if there's 23 pieces of paper on the shelves of Walmart, and only 8 are bought, we are left with a surplus of, let's see, 15? A surplus of 15 papers that are not sold in the market. They just kind of sit on there. And so this is an issue that we have in this kind of a model where the government sets a price floor. Well, what if the government sets the price floor, instead of it being at 15 cents, well, what if they set it at 5 cents? So they say the price has to be at least 5 cents. Okay? So the price can't be any lower than 5 cents. And so something that's interesting here is if the government sets this price at 5 cents, what will happen is the economy is still going to operate right here at the equilibrium point. And it's because consumers, if they were to offer it for 5 cents, would be willing to, this many of them would be willing to pay for it, or they'd be willing to pay for 23 papers. However, they'd only be producing, let's see, 8 papers. But the producers are like, well, if I just increase the price a little bit more people are going to buy my papers. So it eventually just makes its way up back to the equilibrium price. So having a price floor below the equilibrium price will not affect the economy at all. They're still going to produce 15 papers at 10 cents per paper. So if the floor is higher than the equilibrium price, then that creates a shortage. If the floor is lower, then it doesn't affect anything in the economy. So a price ceiling. So let's talk about a price ceiling real quick. Let me pull this all away. Let's copy this. Copy and then move it to the next page. Paste. Alright, so now we have what we call a price ceiling. So let's say that the government says that, well, if you think about the word ceiling, it can't get any higher than a certain amount. So this is the economy says that no, 10 cents is way too much. We're going to make it so that the price cannot go above 5 cents. Okay? So 5 cents. It can't get above 5 cents. So what's going to happen in the economy if the price cannot get above 5 cents? That's supposed to be a dashed line, but it's obviously not a dashed line. Well, what's going to happen is we're going to have these two crossings right here. We're going to have the producers are going to be willing to produce at about, let's say it's about 9. And the consumers are going to be willing to, while the consumers would like to consume, let's say about 18. So at 5 cents, if the producers can't raise the price above 5 cents, then they're only going to produce 9. They're not going to produce any more than that, because anything more than that would cost too much money. They need to be offered a higher price in order to produce more. So what we have here is the consumer wants 18, the producer only supplies 9, so that leaves us with a shortage. So you heard about this great thing the economy just did, the government did. They put a price ceiling, so that way the prices isn't going to get any more than this amount. And you're like, that's awesome. You go to the store, instead of buying my normal 2 pieces of paper, now I'm going to buy, or instead of buying my normal 15 pieces of paper, now I'm going to buy 18. But when you get there, because the price is too low for the producer to sell, all you can get is 9. That's all you're able to get. So this is where the economy would operate, is that point right there. So at 5 cents per paper, and they would only sell 9. And there would be a mad dash to get those 9 pieces of paper. Okay? So there's a 9 paper shortage in this economy. The difference between 18 and 9. So what were to happen if the price ceiling was set above? So let's say it was set at 0.15, so 15 cents. So they said that the price cannot get more than 15 cents. Well, we have something similar to what happened in the last situation. So the producers would be willing to produce, they would love to produce 15 cents. They would be willing to produce all the way to 18 pieces of paper. And the consumers, however, if the price is at 15 cents, then they're only willing to pay for about 8 pieces of paper. So what happens here is the producer doesn't want to have 10 pieces of paper just sitting in their stores, so they start compromising. He comes down a little bit, and then they come down a little bit on the price. So they keep coming down on the price, and they keep getting more and more until they get back to the equilibrium. And this is where the economy will operate, is at the equilibrium. Even though the government's imposing this price ceiling up here, that's not affecting the price at all because the market's operating independent of them. So a tax. So what would a tax do? Let's delete all this fun stuff. What would a tax do to the equilibrium price? Copy, and then take this over, paste. Sorry about the extra G. Alright. So, if the government imposed a tax, if the government decides to tax the paper products, what happens is this is actually a tax on our poor producer. And what happens to their supply curve is now, instead of selling it at the price they were, what happens is they now have a new supply curve because they have to compensate for the tax. So this right here, this difference between these two lines is the tax that they have to compensate for now. And so let's see what happens to the equilibrium price and the quantity. So if this is the new quantity and the new price, we see that there was the new equilibrium. We see that the price would increase while the quantity sold would decrease, which would make sense. I mean, if you went to the store and suddenly all the prices were 5, 25, 30 cents higher, you'd probably buy a few less than you normally would. And so that's how that would affect that. So taxes are a shift of the producer, the supply curve, and they cause an increase in the price and a decrease in the quantity. And I think that's everything we have for today. Have fun with the supply and demand curves. See what more you can do with them and changing them and everything else. And I look forward to doing more on economics with you later. See you.